What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Destiny video. Now today's video, I say Destiny video, but it's sort of just a video about everything. It does pertain to a lot of different games and a lot of things in life in general, but mostly what I'm talking about is how it relates to Destiny. Like I said, I've been looking forward to doing this video for a while now. Part of it is just an informative video that I think people would be interested in seeing, or that I think some people need to see. Another part of it, though, is it's kind of a little bit of a reaction to a lot of stuff that I've been seeing lately on Facebook and on the Bungie Destiny forums and things like that, especially with Iron Banner right now. A lot of people are complaining about RNG. Jesus, what is RNG? Well, actually, I've seen a lot of people trying to spell out RNG with A-R-E-N whatever, because they don't actually know the phrase, they're not familiar with the term, but they just want to complain about it too, like everybody else. So, in case you're one of those people who either misspells it, or whether you just aren't exactly sure what RNG is, it stands for Random Number Generator. It's an acronym. Now, you may not think that you use a random number generator very often, but consider every time you roll a dice, that is technically a form of random number generator. Now, when you're actually physically rolling a dice, it's not exactly a generator, because you yourself would be the generator in that case, and the dice would be your tool. A random number generator would be more like something, say you go online and you Google dice roller, and a digital dice roller shows up. Now, it might have a nice little graphic of a dice moving or something like that, but essentially that works by using a random number generator. RNG uses a mathematical algorithm to choose one number out of a given selection. So let's say the selection is 1 through 6, a standard dice. So you input the numbers 1 through 6, and it uses a mathematically coded algorithm to sort through the numbers 1 through 6 and choose one of them randomly. Something that a lot of people think is an issue with this is that, well, it's a computer, so it can't really be random because it is using an algorithm based on math, and so there's only so much randomness that it can have. So in order to counter that argument, let's take a look at statistics for a minute. Now, statistically speaking, if you had the numbers 1 through 6, let's look at the average of that, which would be 3.5. So 3.5, since it's right in the middle of those 6 numbers, would be the most likely number to be rolled on a dice. Now, since you can't actually have a 3.5, we'll say that the average would be either a 3 or a 4, and that those two numbers, 3 and 4, would be equally likely to be rolled, and that those two numbers, 3 and 4, would be the most likely numbers to be rolled on a dice. That's based on statistics. If you want to get even more mathematically into that, it's all based off of your range, your mean, your mode. It's all a game of averages. Unfortunately, that's not really how it works with a dice, though, because a dice is actually truly random, unless, of course, it's weighted. The dice doesn't care about what the average number of its faces is. It has an exactly equal chance of landing on any of those 6 sides every time it's rolled. So when looking at RNG, a lot of people think it has something to do with luck, right? Well, let's say for instance you were to roll a dice 100 times. That's a lot of times to roll a dice. That's a big field for us to look at here. Based on averages shown to us by statistics, the most common numbers rolled on that dice out of the 100 rolls would be 3 and 4, and the average would be a 3.5. Now, of course, it's also true that you could roll a dice 100 times and you could roll a 6 every single time. It's also true that you could roll 100 times and roll a 1 every single time. However unlikely it may be for that to happen, it is still possible, because again, the dice doesn't care about what its average is. It has an equally likely chance of landing on each side every single time it's rolled, regardless of how many times you roll it. Now, that is exactly the way that a random number generator works. You could say, if you were to find a random number generator online and you click generate 100 times, that the average again would be the middle number. So let's say you have 10 numbers instead of 6. Let's say you click it 100 times. The average would be a 5.5, because yes, 5 is in the middle of 10, but if you were to actually split up the number 10 into 2 separate halves, you have 1 through 5 and you have 6 through 10. Now dead between 6 and 5 is 5.5, so that would be the average if you were to do a 1 through 10 roll algorithm. But as I said before, since a random number generator is quote-unquote random, it's possible that you would get a 10 all 100 times you generated. It's also equally possible, although equally unlikely, that you would roll a 1 every time you generated. So how does this all relate to Destiny? Well, let's say you're light level 310, and you're trying to get light level 320 gear, because, well, who isn't? Let's be kind here and say that it would only be possible for you to get a piece of gear drop that is as high as level 320, which is true right now until the April update drops. But let's be kind and say the lowest it can drop is at 300 light. So you're right there in the middle at 310. Now, as we discussed before, the average number for you to get, or the most likely numbers for you to get as far as light go, would be anywhere between 309 and 311, because 310 is right in the middle of the range of numbers that it's possible to drop. So the numbers that would be the most common would be 309, 310, and 311, since you're in the middle. Now if you're 310 and you keep getting 310 drops continually because they're quote-unquote the most common to drop, you're going to be pretty frustrated because you're not going to be getting anywhere. And that is exactly why Destiny does not use a statistical method of giving out loot. It uses a true random number generator to give loot drops. If the case were true that they did use a statistical based algorithm to give out loot, you would continually get things that were within 1 or 2 light levels of the gear that you already have, or your average light level. Now this would be pretty frustrating because it would be extremely rare for you to get lower level gear that's 300, let's say, but it would be even more rare for you to get things that are 320. Let's say you got a 300 piece of gear. Well, unfortunately, you were at the extreme low end of the spectrum, and you were just really unlucky. Now, if you did get a 320, you would be insanely lucky based on statistics, because that number is nowhere close to the average. And so now here we are again, arriving at the conclusion that Destiny does in fact use a true random number generator system to give out its loot. So you do have an equal chance of getting a 300 piece of gear, as you have an equal chance of getting a 310 piece of gear, as you have an equal chance of getting a 320 piece of gear, and all the numbers in between. The fact of the matter is, you take the range of numbers that you have, and you are equally likely to receive a piece of gear at any level between the smallest and the largest number. So if you are somebody who gets things on the lower end of the spectrum, things that are either the same light level you are right now, or things that are lower, well, you probably think you're pretty unlucky, but in reality, you're just like everybody else. People who happen to get things on the higher end of the spectrum, we would call them quote-unquote lucky, but in reality, based on the random number generator system, you are just as lucky as they are to receive something on the lower end of the spectrum as they are to receive something on the higher end. It's just that you want high stuff, not low stuff. So basically what all this mathematical jargon boils down to is that you don't have to worry about any of the statistics stuff, because that is all thrown out the window when it comes to getting loot in Destiny. Essentially, it's all pure luck, because it is a true random number generator system that assigns loot, especially when it comes to what light level it's going to be. So just kick back, relax, don't worry about a thing, because worrying certainly is not going to increase your chances of getting a 320 piece of gear, or after the April update drops, a 335 piece. Now, in case you're somebody who is struggling to get light level 320, and you are just really motivated to get it before the April update drops, that's very understandable, because you want to be relevant, you want to be current, you want to get the max light level while it's still the max. Yes, it'll be a lot easier to get light level 320 gear after the April update drops. You'll actually be guaranteed through a certain amount of events that are provided through the new update to get 320 gear as, like I said, a guaranteed drop. But if you're looking for a way to get that gear now before the update drops, I'll have a video coming out tomorrow that will explain my favorite and what I think are the best ways to get the higher level gear, especially 319 and 320. So I hope this video kind of clarified a little bit what an RNG is, how it works, why they use it in Destiny, and why it hates us all so much. Like I said, don't worry about it. If you do get low gear all the time, well, just know that your time will come and you will get higher level gear at some point, hopefully. So in the meantime, let's just all try to enjoy the game for what it is and stop continually posting on the forums and on Bungie.net and whatnot about how much we hate the random number generator and the RNG gods and how unlucky we are in the game and how we keep getting screwed over and whatnot. Because in the end, we're all in the same boat. Same thing's gonna happen to us all someday. So, may the odds be ever in your favor, and until next time guys, peace out, thank you so much for watching, I'll see ya.